How do you think that a Trump presidency is going to impact on the US economy and the global economy and in turn the South African economy?
Mhm.
I mean, what are your thoughts on how that's going to play out?
We do think this is an epochal moment, and we're not saying that to be dramatic. Um, this is seismic. Donald Trump comes to office with Republicans in charge of both houses of Congress. So many of the mansions of the governors are now Republican occupied. So he not only has the capacity to use the Republican machinery to effect, but there are at least 50 million voters who have delivered this outcome, and who have expectations that he will act on immigration. He will act on enhancing America's global interests. And so far he is playing to that so far silent number of individuals who are simply probably watching this from their televisions and nodding approvingly. It may also be epochal to the extent that this mercantilist approach of Donald Trump, the idea that he will seek to maximize America's interests within its borders, harnessing the best of industry, it could also in time result in productivity levels in America subsiding, simply to the extent that it locks out the opportunity for more effective supply chain developments that effectively deliver greater productivity, greater production over the medium to longer term. If I were to also stretch to suggest that over the last couple of centuries we've had empires, and more than a dozen of them at some point in time had reigned, if Donald Trump pursues this course, he could only hasten the end of America's empire, of Western-led liberalism that was certainly charged by the United States, and globalization that was effectively pioneered by the United States. So those are longer-term dynamics. Cyclically, the markets seem to be cheering Donald Trump, in addition to favorable economic data. The Trump trade has added to the reflationary bias around the globe. Equities are outperforming bonds. Cyclical shares are doing better than defensive shares. Base metals have outrun precious metals. So far, at least over the near term, I think people are simply looking at a positive cyclical shock. In time, it will dawn on humanity, let alone other policymakers, that this could be an end of an era unless there's a reversal of course towards celebrating free markets but also appreciating its genetic errors which have to be dealt with. There are several layers to interpreting the South Africa-US dynamic. The first is within the confines of AGOA over the last 15 years or so. And we must appreciate that AGOA has morphed from what was originally a unilateral dynamic to more of a bilateral contract. In other words, initially it embodied deep benevolence on the part of the United States without seeking reciprocity from South Africa or even other African nations. But of course, with China's great claims on the continent and including South Africa, America has become more contesting and seeking to also see its firms advance and establish or ascend in their platform and foothold on the continent. So AGOA clearly has become more bilateral, and certainly they'll be looking for reciprocity. My sense is that in time, once the niceties and the pleasantries have been dispensed with, the US administration is going to be far more guarded in its benevolence. So whether it is aid and assistance, they are going to be far more clinical in ensuring that it is free of graft, that it also enhances, if not commercial, geopolitical advantage for America. And I also think American firms will want to somewhat contest the Chinese on African soil and possibly displace them. So I think it's just a matter of time before administration to administration conversations become far more touchy and far more piercing of the underlying fault lines beyond just these, I guess, cursory, pleasant engagements.